In a world where systems of oppression benefit some and discriminate others, allows for everything to remain the same no matter how much noise we make, we are here to provide some real behind-the-scenes conversations your marginalized peers are having. This is Secrets of the Silenced, or SOS, an amplification of marginalized voices, their unheard problems, and unsung solutions. Before we introduce our guests, we are going to let you, our listeners, know what and why. We are going to investigate the positionalities of different folks that come from marginalized groups in society. What even is a positionality? Positionality is the social and political context that creates your identity in terms of age, country of origin, primary and first language, race, class, religion, gender, sexuality, affinities, and ability status. Oppression refers to a combination of prejudice and institutional power that creates a system that regularly and severely discriminates against some groups and benefits others. And now, we are going to interview different people with different positionalities, and I'm going to create a list of common problems and solutions stemming from these important conversations. I have heard that all oppression is connected, and this podcast will give listeners an oral view of why that is. Welcome back to SOS, or Secrets of the Silence. And our next guest is Jeremiah Robinson. Jeremiah Robinson is a music educator and singer from Cartersville, Georgia. Praised for his warm and versatile voice, he has been heard frequently as a soloist and in choirs around Atlanta. Jeremiah graduated from Kennesaw State University in 2020 with a Bachelor of Music Education and is now in his third year of teaching at Ridgeview Charter Middle School in Sandy Springs, Georgia. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and talk about Jeremiah's positionality. So name, Jeremiah Robinson, gender, man, pronouns, he, him, race, Black, ethnicity and cultural background, identifies as Black as well, marital status, single, height, 5'8", mental illness, undiagnosed, disabilities, undiagnosed, romantic affinity, masculine presenting people, class, middle class, first language, English, age 26, level of education, Bachelor's of Music Ed, primary language, English, religious affiliation, Christian, and country of origin, the United States of America. So going off of what you answered for me, if you had to go through this list and name the top 3 of these that you feel people perceive of you first. So like if someone didn't know you, and maybe had like 1 or 2 interactions with you, in any social or professional setting, what would you think the 3 things, they would perceive of you first?
I think Black would be first, my race.
Okay.
Then my sexual orientation, and then my gender.
Cool. So I think okay, you said Black first, you said sexual orientation, and then I guess affinity.
Yeah,
and,
romantic. Yeah.
and then gender. Did you pick those 3 and in that order?
I chose my race because I definitely think that is the very first thing you notice about
Sure.
me. And then I think normally people would have chosen gender, but I think with my personality, I give off, and kind of my stature, like I'm not the tallest and I have a very small build. So people just, I guess it all comes together to match my romantic affinity, like I guess towards stereotypes. So I think yeah, people notice that immediately when they first meet me. And then uh, they include my gender into that.
Do
Mhm.
you think when you say your romantic affinity second, do you mean to say you mentioned stature and you mentioned like I think it was stature and just I guess like physical body type
Mhm.
and like height. I think you mentioned your height that kind of went with I found it interesting that you associated height and stature with romantic affinity.
Right.
Do you think that society bases that with romantic affinity and do you consider romantic affinity like do you think that's paired with masculinity and femininity and how
Mhm.
so?
Yes, I do think society has made that all into one thing just
Mm,
because of, I don't know, I think it's like people talk about like masculinity and femininity. I do have a lot of aspects of me that are masculine, but I also have a lot of aspects of me that are feminine. And because I feel like they are equal, that the people see more of the feminine side, or people want to see more of the feminine side because I feel comfortable with the feminine side. And that makes people assume what my romantic affinity is. So
mm,
that is what they see. They see, oh, feminine, oh, they're small, or yeah,
sure.
uh, I guess some stereotypical feminine things that people think of or like dainty or like I uh have a higher voice or I like the way I walk in the room is like kind of I would say more lighthearted because I have like a lighter personality. So people automatically think of me as like dainty and cute. So then they're just like, oh, this is what he is. This is what I'm
Right.
assuming he is. And I think because of the what the world has created from all of these different titles.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, it's just interesting that you're not the first person to say that. Um, I find it interesting that feminine is often associated with a male who is homosexual and or who has affinities for masculine romantic affinities for masculine presenting people. Um, but then like we completely disregard people who are feminine presenting that could have affinities to other feminine presenting people like for
Right.
whatever reason there is a fixation
Mhm.
of men or people who were born assigned male at birth like becoming feminine or developing as feminine in any way it's like a red mark on a test, you know, more
Mhm.
so than anything else.
Right.
Um, so, anyways, that's really interesting. Going into, oh, and then my second question about your positionality. You gave me your top three of how you think people perceive you. How do you feel? What are the top three that you think about the most? And is it the same as what you think people perceive of you, or is it different?
No, it is not the same. The things I think about mostly, I believe, are my race,
Okay.
my romantic affinity. So those two are the same. But my third one would be my religious affiliation.
Okay. And why do you pick religious affiliation?
I picked that because it is a very important part of my life. And um, I think a lot of people, again, the assumptions and the stereotypes, a lot of people assume that uh, like it doesn't make sense to people that
Mhm.
I still identify as a Christian because of my romantic affinity and because it makes a lot of sense to me, but it just doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So I think about it not because it doesn't make sense to me because it makes a lot of sense to me, but I think about how I present myself so it doesn't come off as like the stereotypical Christians who who some of them give off a lot of hate. So I try not to have that type of I guess personality whenever I'm talking to people who do not have the same religious affiliation as me, just so that everyone knows like I love everyone. I'm not going to judge you. I am This is
Right.
just what I believe. You believe what you believe, and we all believe together and all be great together.
I
So
love it.
that's
Yeah.
what I am. Yeah.
Do you find it difficult being Christian and um I guess do you worry about is it on your mind when like for example you go to church or you surround yourself with other Christian people and do you find it difficult, I guess, going to church and like, is it on your mind? Like, are you constantly thinking like, okay, I'm a gay black man and I'm in church and I wonder if people, are thinking anything, or do you come across the people that comment? Like, do people challenge you?
I thank goodness I found a place that does not challenge my positionality at all.
Mm.
They fully support and they are full of love and they actually because I just started singing there as like a job in college.
Cool.
And then um the people in the choir and people outside of the choir, they just as time went by, I became more involved in the church and everyone got to know me really well. And I don't hide really anything about me. I'm very vocal about how I feel about my race or how I feel about my romantic affinity. And they all know that. And they have always been very, very supportive in that. So I am grateful that I don't have those thoughts while I am in church.
Sure.
I'm just happy to be there and happy to sing and happy to live my life.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Did your church did you grow up going to church?
Yes, I did. I did.
And did the church that you grew up going to, was it different than the church family you've chosen and found now?
Yes, absolutely. Completely different.
And how would you describe it being different?
My church family growing up, I feel like the biggest difference. I think Christianity is a faith that you should feel safe in and feel comfortable in. And growing up, I never felt safe or comfortable.
Mm.
Um, there was a lot of yelling. There's a lot of you're going to hells. There's a lot of this is all wrong. Um, if you do one thing bad, it's the end. It's over for you. So I stepped away for a while when I got to high school. And like with the coming out and everything, I stepped away from the church.
Mm.
And it was a rough time, but um funny enough, I did a musical in high school. I did Godspell, if you ever heard of that.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I played uh Jesus in it. And I think that was like the first time I got to like really understand the Bible and the scriptures for myself. And that led me on a better path to find better people and to feel more comfortable with accepting who I am for who I am. So, yeah.
Awesome. Um, could you describe the population of the church that you went to growing up? Um, do you feel like there were a lot more similar positionalities in that church versus the church that you're in now?
I would say about and is 100% Black. Um, I would say the age range 70 at the time while I was going there. So I went there from like birth until basically 16, I guess, 16 or 17.
Okay.
And everyone was a lot older. I would say 75% was 40 and up.
40. So it would be like 40 and up and then the kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then so you were saying how um it was a black church with mostly older people.
Mhm.
Do you feel like do you feel like you struggled a lot being gay and being black, like that intersection and being Christian? Like that was like if that makes sense.
Mhm. No, like in the church, was that a problem? No, because we were all black there. That was what I mostly felt comfortable about.
Sure.
Everything else was hard growing up.
Got it.
The
But it wasn't okay to be black and be gay.
You said it wasn't? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, I'm asking if it was not okay to be black and gay at your church.
Right. No.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so we're gonna go on. That's awesome that you did Godspell in high school and that kind of led you onto a different journey. Um,
Hmm.
so would you say that were you doing choir in high school at that time while you were doing Godspell, or did you start choir earlier?
Yes, I was doing it at the same time.
Cool.
So,
And and did you start singing in the church before that? Did you start singing in school?
mhm. Yeah, I started. My family is very musical in the church. So my mom sang a lot, and I just wanted to be like her. So, and our family made like all of the cousins and grandkids. We had to sing at church all the time.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I started singing when I was really young at church. And then the school I went to in kindergarten, they had chorus for us. So I was in kindergarten and I was in chorus in kindergarten in first grade. And then I moved schools and they didn't have chorus until fourth grade. And then I've been in chorus ever since fourth.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, all right. I guess now we're gonna move on to um kind of fast forward to adult life.
Mhm.
How often do you meet choir directors that intersect your same or similar areas of positionality?
Off the top of my head, I could think of probably four black male gay teachers, queer teachers right now.
Wow, only four.
Yeah, that I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh my gosh. And you
Mhm.
teach like do you teach kind of near the Atlanta area?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta. Sandy
Okay,
Springs
cool.
is Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the Atlanta area.
Mhm.
I don't know, that's kind of hard to believe. At least my perception of Atlanta, and a lot of people that I know both that are choir directors and not choir directors, like everyone thinks of Atlanta as being more brown, more black,
Yeah.
like more. So I think that's interesting and more
Mhm.
queer too.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that four is the number just that you can think of off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Um, um, how often, so that's in Georgia and near the Atlanta area. What about when you go to like conferences? Like we were just at Southern Division. I don't know if you've been to National ACDA or just at
Mhm.
your state MEA.
Yeah. At the state level, if I well, let me think about Southern Division ACDA. I feel like most of the, and I could be wrong, this is just off of looking at people. I saw mostly, I think college students were, a lot of the college students looked more similar to me than the current teachers, which is exciting, but also like, what's been going on? Where is everybody?
Mhm. Mhm, mhm. It seems like a lot is changing. I mean,
Yeah.
like cool that it's changing, but like why now? You're right. And I hope that they all stick around because I know it's hard.
It's for
Um,
fire.
and then I guess going back, I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit. We talked a lot about your top three positionalities. What are the three that you think about the least?
My age, my height.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just have to ask everyone that, but and it's interesting the answers that I get from everyone.
Really.
Um, what is your perspective of visibility and interactions, professional or otherwise, between choir culture and your positionality?
My perspective on it, I was actually thinking about this recently, I believe, because now that I'm in my third year of teaching, I'm just in that place where I'm like, do I like what's next? Am I just gonna do this, or is there like a bigger step I should take, or like what else? And I was trying to think of people that I could like do some research on or look at um, who maybe would have similar journeys to me or someone who looks like me. And it was kind of hard because there aren't that many people who are not necessarily like I don't necessarily want to be well known, but have maybe like works at a college or has like a big community choir. There aren't that many Black directors like that. And I was actually just talking to some other friends like at ACDA looking at all the um performing choirs and their conductors. I didn't see a lot of me up there, which was kind of discouraging and sad because you don't know, is it because there aren't a lot of me or is it because maybe they're just not getting accepted? I don't know.
That's an interesting point to bring up. Did you have, so speaking about seeing yourself, so just you talked about how in Southern Division and maybe some conferences you don't see a whole lot of yourself, and that can be discouraging. But here you are in your third year of teaching, so somewhere along the way you were inspired to do this. Who in your journey of choir, or even just out of it can be in context or out of context in education, did you have a lot of teachers that you feel like fit your positionality now? Like when you were a kid, did you see someone like you now, or did you have someone like you in your upbringing?
No,
What would you say the positionalities of your of the teachers that you had or directors that you had were?
white above the age of 45. Yeah. Um, Not many other things to describe them.
No, it's all good. Um, okay, and then who I guess inspired you the most to do this?
I would say my elementary school music teacher and my high school chorus teacher.
And tell me why.
My elementary school music teacher, she was, I think, as soon as, because we had to audition to be in chorus in fourth grade. And as soon as, well, really in third grade, not even being in chorus, I think she noticed how much I love music. And from then, she can just encouraged me and wanted me to become involved. And she would always, after every class or something, she would like teach me something extra or like tell me you should listen, uh, give me recommendations on things I should listen to. And she was just really encouraging throughout my uh, career in elementary school. And even now, as a teacher, she's still very supportive. And yeah, I loved her and I'll never forget her. And my high school teacher, um, we just we just had a bond And I think we just love music in the same way, and not many other people. But I'll say specifically choral music. We loved it in the same way, and not like people love singing in groups, but there's just something, as a choral director, like singing and being in front of a group and putting it all together. Once you get that feeling, it's like the best feeling in the world. And I think he noticed that I had that feeling at the beginning, and he worked hard to kind of cultivate that and help me grow as a musician. And uh, again, he was just very encouraging and was encouraging throughout college and helped me decide to become a teacher after a lot of stupid things happened. And yeah, it was just great. And I really appreciate them.
Awesome. Um, could you describe an experience where you were asked for your input on, so I said on your positionality, but really it just could mean anything within the choral space? Or did you find yourself in a position where you felt, a little bit more vulnerable, or maybe you were isolated, and you needed camaraderie, you needed validation, you needed um, something, but you felt gaslit or dismissed by someone or people within that culture?
Um, there was this one um experience I had. Um it was a camp or a program that I attended, and they asked me to sit on kind of like this. They had like a, I can't think of the word, like a panel. They asked all the people who had different positionalities to come speak on this panel. And I they asked us a lot of questions, and I gave them a lot of good feedback and a lot of good tips, and told them about my experiences as a Black male growing up in the South and everything. And I thought, like, being a part of it, I was like, wow, this is great. They're really open. They're like really interested in learning. But then they were just, after that, there were multiple times where other people who were part of the program um, were just like, I felt like I've been judged or discriminated against, or have been called names or inappropriate things and things like that. And I felt dismissed and felt useless because, well, not even that, the fact that those things happened, but I don't think there were any repercussions after those events happened, especially after being on that panel and talking about, this is what is happening to us, this is how we feel, and this is how you should try to fix it. But I guess it just went through one ear and out the other. And it was very disheartening.
And was this camp like a music or a choir camp? Um,
Hmm.
and how old were you?
At this point, I was 21.
So you were 21, and was this like a college thing? Um,
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, a college thing. Yes.
okay, cool.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is a common theme, to not maybe have discussions and absolutely nothing be done about it. So that is incredibly frustrating. Um, and were you in this, you said you were on the panel. Do you feel like you were the only one on said panel that felt that way, or do you feel like there were others kind of feeling the same way as you?
Yeah, everyone that was around my age that attended this uh panel, we all felt the same way. And we all felt the same way throughout the entire camp. And it was just annoying because we were kind of stuck there and we had this feeling of not being safe.
Yep, totally got it.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess could you describe also, and if this maybe this is the same experience or maybe this might be different, but do you have any experiences with intense imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon because of your positionality? Like you feel like this isn't really real. Like I shouldn't really be a choir director right now. Like I feel like this is too surreal. Like this isn't me, shouldn't be me.
Sometimes I do. And I think that's more because of one, my romantic affinity. Felt that's been brought up a lot in the school. And also my age. I get a lot of um I don't think I get a lot of what's the I can't think of what word I'm trying to say right
Like
now.
prejudice, discrimination.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit. I think some people look at me and they're like, "Oh, he's just a cute little boy. He doesn't really
Yeah.
know anything." And I get that a lot. Um, yeah,
You
so
mentioned
that's when the imposter syndrome comes in.
you mentioned that that your romantic affinity has been brought up at school and like to what capacity that you might feel comfortable? Like is it through students, teachers, parents, admin?
Students.
And do they just have no gall or nerve? Like they do they just go up to you? Do they say things like directly to you, or is it kind of like in passing? Do students tell you, oh, you know, Mr. Robinson, I heard so and so say this and this and that.
Mhm. It depends on the student. I have had lots, they are very bold, come up and just be like, "Are you gay? Who's your boyfriend? Oh my gosh." Like that kind of stuff. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is my personal business. I'm a grown man."
Do you,
And
okay, but wait, do you feel like um how often do you feel like those questions are like, is it like other little black boys that are asking you this, or is it like just like anybody that's asking you this?
it's um well the it's a lot of my students, not the little black boys. They're not asking me that. No.
Okay.
Mhm. It's all the little um it's probably some, I think some are just like, "Oh, Miss Robinson, okay, that's cool." But some are definitely like, weird."
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
I know all about that. Um, it's sometimes okay, I know like and this is just for me. I know like I think I think sometimes when they ask me, and primarily when boys ask me, it's like they're kind of like like it's that they're asking me about the trans thing. And
Yeah.
I feel like some of it is like it's yes, it's ignorance, obviously. They're 12 and they've never seen a trans before. So they're just
Right.
like, oh my gosh. Like and some of I feel like in middle school, like everyone's just a butt. Like they're just
Yeah.
and
Have no filters.
to anything that's different, like it's like, oh, that's weird. But is it just weird, or is it like that you're wondering about the world around you and you just don't have the human skills to like properly research and talk to people?
Right.
Like, I don't know about you, but some of these parents in this community, Jesus, I'm like, what are you teaching your child at home?
Yeah.
I feel like they're just not doing any, like, just go to school. I'm not going to teach you anything.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's what they are doing. Oh my
uh,
gosh.
So, anyways, okay. Well, thank you for sharing on that front. Um, Do you okay, do you feel like your positionality, and we kind of talked about this already, but do you feel like your positionality is represented well in our professional organizations?
Not really. No.
No.
There it is.
Yeah, period. That's it. So we need to see way more of you, way more of us,
hmm
more success.
More
Um,
success. That's it.
um, and I don't know about you, but one of my professors in college, she's amazing. Her name is Dr. Judy Bowers, and she told us it is our job, it is our duty to create success for our students.
Mm.
So I feel like we have a duty as adults in this profession. And I feel like the adults that are older than us, who are still actively involved in these organizations, who have more of a platform to say something and do something to create success for the people that are coming up that most likely are different than they are.
Mm.
Um, so I hope that happens.
Me too.
Um, do you feel that there is access to repertoire representing your position?
No, well, I don't. Well, being a middle school teacher, there's just so many restrictions and like vocal ranges and like skill. So I don't think there are that many composers in general. Like looking at LGPE, and we went for professional development. I went to another district's LGPE, and everybody was doing the same three pieces by the same three people, which I get. Once you find a good one, you want to keep. But also, I was also thinking, like, are there younger, new composers out there who just haven't received the access to be performed or be published? Or, like, are these publishing companies not taking their pieces for some reason? I don't know. I was while looking at these questions, I was trying to think of like this year, thinking about pieces I've done and um all the composers, and I had I got Rollo Dilworth, that's somebody, and then I had that's really it, Rollo Dilworth.
There's, yeah, I can think of Raul Dilworth. I think of Victor C. Johnson. I think
Oh
he's
yeah, I did. Yeah, Victor.
um
I forgot about him.
and the new up and coming one, and I hate that I have to say it because I'm sure she's been around for 4 or 5 ever, is Brittany Boykin,
Oh yes, I love.
Um, but I've known her, I've known about her stuff, I feel like for a little while,
Yeah,
but like I hadn't seen any of her stuff be brought up in like major conventions until I feel like within the past 2 years. And maybe I'm
yeah,
wrong, but like maybe the conventions that I've been to. And
yeah,
she's phenomenal,
yeah.
um, so I think, wait, so is any of her, just because she's in the Atlanta area, right? So
Mhm.
she's at Georgia Tech.
Yes.
So are any of her pieces um like approved for LGPE?
You know what? I have the list pulled up right here. Let's look.
Hey Brittany, if you're listening, we're about to find out. Oh, and for the listeners, so I know what LGPE is because I'm doing my master's at UNT. So like everyone that's from everywhere else that I'm not from like has a different name for like assessment. So it's like assessment, adjudication, UIL, MPA, and for you it's LGPE. What does LGPE stand for?
Large group performance evaluation.
Awesome. Do they have like SPGE, like small group, or SGPE, small group evaluation?
No, we
Okay.
do. We have an assessment like ensemble and solo singing, but not many
Cool.
people do that.
Okay. Yeah, that same in Virginia. I know in Florida it's a really big thing for to do both, but
Right. Okay, I am not seeing any B. Boykin on the list.
that is crazy. Oh, that's
Um,
offensive.
it really is.
Offended. Um, so Georgia people, if you're listening to this, we need to submit the music.
I'm gonna have to.
And I know there are more. There has to be more composers, you know. And
Yeah.
is there a way to submit? What is your process of submitting a piece for LGPE, the LGPE list?
I've actually never done it before because, but we go on our GMEA website and there's a LGPE area on there.
Like a link
And
or something?
yeah, and there's just uh, a Google form. Is this a Google form? Yeah, to submit pieces. And you have to write the questions are director's name, school, title of the piece, composer or arranger, publisher, publisher number, voicing, accompaniment, proposed list, so class A, B, C, D, or M.
Yeah.
And then it asks you to please provide a brief explanation of why this selection should be added to the list and justify your recommended classification.
Ah, okay. Yeah, no, that's similar. It sounds similar to the way that our list too. So yeah, wow. I'm sure if this becomes popular, people will submit.
Yeah, I hope
Uh,
so.
so does your state require or use the label of multicultural music on your state prescribed list? Like, is there like in your state organization, do they have like a multicultural position?
No,
And have you heard that term before?
it depends on how it's being used. I think it is a very broad term, but sometimes it could definitely be used as something that's not any song that's just not like a white uh not English, not uh I don't know.
It's no, it's like you said it. It's
Yeah.
I feel like the term should be just I feel like the term should just be cultural. Like I feel
Yes.
like I think of like so I just the first person that we interviewed, like we talked about it. And now
Mm,
every time this comes up, I just keep thinking of how messed up it is. Like, but also like just cultural because white
right.
people don't have culture.
Yeah,
It's
they don't.
so I just think it's funny that it's multicultural when really it's just cultural.
Right.
Um, but then like the implication that multiple cultures are just one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the black person that has no Caribbean background or like is not Latinx, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is in charge of all of the cultures. Like, or if they put or if they put me in charge of all of the cultures and I don't know anything about like Korean music or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just we're not
It
all the same.
right. It doesn't make any sense. Like it's either this or that. Everything's black or white for
It's
them.
right.
But
And it almost feels like a throwaway. I don't know.
because it
in
is, they're
in
just
that
doing
way.
it because mm,
Yeah, it's sure is interesting. All right, when moving on. When you're in a room filled with other positionalities, do you feel like your voice and experiences are heard? Or do you feel like you have to downplay your identity in dominant spaces?
yes, I do think I have to downplay, well, depending on where I am, downplace like my race and my romantic affinity to get some things across. I definitely have gotten really good at code switching, unfortunately.
Mm.
But
Where are specific environments that you feel like you have to code switch?
I have to sometimes here at work, like at meetings, I have to code switch a lot. Sometimes that is the one thing about my church. It is a huge white population, so I have to code switch a lot there. Um, um, sometimes at different gigs because still choral music is predominantly like older people and white people. I have to code switch. I just had a concert yesterday and uh talking to a lot of the people after, I had to just put on a happy face and just keep it all in a box because, well, not too much in a box. I don't like, what's the word? I don't make myself smaller, but I do, I guess, make myself a little more, what's the word? Digestible.
Ooh, digestible.
Yeah.
That's such a great way to describe it. And but also it's like it's real, but also how painful that
Yeah.
you have to chew, you have to be like a bird and chew up the food for the people to feed them like baby bird.
Uh-huh.
Ew.
Exactly. Ill. It's horrible.
It's ew. It's horrible that you have to experience that, that a lot of us have to experience that. And then also and just playing white. Um, just like now I ever since like realizing like how much I've had to do that in the past, like I almost like I feel like the older that I get, the more rebellious I get, and the more like I'll just randomly speak Spanish,
As you
or
should. Yes.
like I will yell at my kids in Spanish to do things, or I don't know, like the moment that I recognize that someone's uncomfortable with my identity, I just start to become more.
I love that. Yes. Sit in it.
Just because it's horrible. Maybe I'm going to hell for this, but I like watching people like uh,
Get lost.
what?
They
So I wish that for you as well. I hope that you feel more empowered and but also safe. And I understand that it's a safety thing too. We also
yeah.
unfortunately, we have to recognize that bottom line, sometimes it's just not safe to do that. Uh,
Yeah. Unfortunately.
and so, but yeah, I know. So if given, and now here's like kind of the cool part of the interview, like I get to give you a metaphorical magic wand.
Okay.
And if given the opportunity to be in a space where you have the power to change the ways of the dominant culture, what would you say? What would you do? What would you change?
I would just like to make it to where there isn't a dominant culture. I just want everyone to live their lives and share their culture and everyone be like, "Yes, I love that." Show us or not, you don't even have to show us. You do what you need to do and you and your people continue to do what you do and we just everybody just needs to learn about it and learn to appreciate the beauty that all of these positionalities create together or create apart or and just know that there is no standard, there is no default. It's just we're all creating art and we all are an important, like our art is an important part of shaping this world and everyone's art is just as important as everyone else's.
Well, I liked when you said, I just wish it's not even about like you said you do you, everyone you doing what you do and connecting that to I just wish there wasn't a dominant culture. Like I feel like we would have there would be less issues of inauthenticity. Like when you were saying, like, I saw a lot of performances at conference that of people that don't look like me. And not only that, but like, how many times do we see people at conference of a dominant culture do pieces that reflect what's supposed to be us,
Yeah.
and it comes off as not authentic or not because how could it be unless you're like truly, making it about, unless it's really student centered, I don't see how, we can truly experience authenticity and access to like other cultures, other ways of being, unless those people are the ones that are on stage, unless those people are the ones in front of students and kids and people. Um, so yeah, no, you said a lot with that. Um, I guess if you feel comfortable, and you don't have to answer this, could you tell us, I guess, um, anything anything life changing, anything where you felt like you were, or at your most vulnerable? Maybe it could be like a coming out story. It could be like, you know, this is how I knew that my positionality was something that I'm gonna have to think about all the time.
Huh. I think my freshman year of college, I started off as a theater major. And one day, we were just talking in class. We were having this discussion about like some roles that we would like to do or what are our favorite roles and like typecasting and all of that kind of stuff. And while we were having that conversation, I just thought about like everything I did in high school and all the opportunities I got to be a part of. And I just like thought about who I am. I thought about like my whole positionality at that point. So my age, my race, my height, my romantic affinity, all of that stuff came into my head. And I was like, wow, none of that fits like any of the roles that I played in high school, or none of that fits any any of the roles that are like on Broadway right now, or any of the shows that are playing around me right now. And that was at that point, I was like, this is like the arts in general has a lot of growing up to do because there's no reason. There are so many people who look like us from different backgrounds, from different cultures, from different parts of the world who are so talented and have so much to offer, but just haven't been given the opportunity for some odd reason. And I think that's also like why we don't see more people like us at conferences, or why you don't hear about them taking groups all over the place, or things like that. So I think that was big, a huge pivotal moment in my life. And I think that's also what made me want to become an educator, because that's when I changed my major to music ed, because I want to give my students the encouragement and the opportunity to know that like anything is possible. You can do whatever you want to do. And I think them seeing me, and also things I do in class, to give them the opportunity to see other, like show a lot of videos or bring other people in that don't look like Miss Sally Lou over here.
Not with Sally Lou.
Miss Sally Lou, we don't need to see Miss Sally Lou anymore. We need somebody else.
Uh,
So I think it's so important. And that's what I do all the time in my class to show them.
I I you know how like I feel like our society right now is all about nostalgia. I think it has to do a lot with like just the times that we're in right now. Everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Everything like nobody wants to do anything. Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I feel like we all just want to remember what life was like pre-COVID, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like um and so with that has come the, resurgence of like child stars, people that were on like Nickelodeon and, Disney Channel. Did you ever watch any of those TV shows growing up?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I forget what show it was. But there's this black girl that was on a show. I don't know if it was Xenon. Do you know so I know Raven Simone was on one of them, but then there was another actress. Um,
What's
do you
her
remember that
name?
movie? Xenon, like Xenon,
Yes.
the girl of the 21st century. Um, anyways, there's this one black girl that was interviewing like the black girl that was on the show. Like, and because there wasn't social media or anything like that, like she didn't become as successful, or like there was no access for her to like really make it
Mhm.
the same way that some of the other kind of lead actresses um got on. And this one girl that was interviewing her was like, I just want to let you know, like, we see you and we remember you. Like,
Mhm.
there was like no one that looked like us except for you. And that made a difference. And so when I saw her like receive that information, granted, it's 2024, like would have been great for her to have had access to hear that validation like 20 years ago.
Mhm.
But like at least now it's starting to happen, and I hope that we, you know, go more in that direction. And you said it best, like my kids need to see who I am. Like
Mhm.
my kids need to see me. I know our last guest, I said my kids needed a you or a me. Like my kid, I would have benefited from having a Mr. Robinson, and there was no Mr. Robinson for me. Like when I was
Mhm.
so. Anyways, that's awesome. That is, I need to look. I think that's it. Those were all of the questions. And I kind of asked some other ones. Thank you for entertaining me and for um and for kind of letting me dive in a little deeper.
Yeah.
And thanks again for being on. I know that we're all busy, so I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you doing this for me. And I hope that this gains traction and that your name gets out there for it. And that's
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. I loved it.
All right, folks with an X, thank you so much for sticking with me through this interview. Until next time, here on SOS.